to cut your puppy dog. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Hey everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun to dig into these things.
Yeah, well, this time around we're looking into some serious legal trouble brewing around Sean Diddy Combs.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing this in the headlines.
Right, it's everywhere, so we thought it'd be a good one to dive into. We found this CNN article that goes into some pretty wild accusations about how Combs is allegedly trying to influence his case, all while he's behind bars. Which, I mean...
It is fascinating, right? Like how this case is unfolding while he's already locked up. I mean, it's not just about the charges themselves, but these allegations that he's, like, trying to manipulate the system from inside, you know?
Exactly. So maybe let's just break this down a bit for the listener who maybe hasn't been following this as closely as we have. So Combs is awaiting trial on charges that include things like sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy.
Serious stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. He's pleaded not guilty so far, but he's been denied bail twice already.
And that's not even all of it, right? The prosecution is claiming that. He's going to some pretty crazy lengths here, like using other inmates' phone accounts to avoid being monitored, paying them to make calls for him, even using three-way calling to talk to people he's not allowed to contact. And get this, they're also saying that he's been sending hundreds of text messages through some kind of unauthorized system in the prison.
Well, so it's like he's running a whole communications hub from jail. I mean, that's pretty bold.
It really is, and I think it kind of raises some questions about how secure those systems are, you know? But I think more importantly, it speaks to the lengths someone might go to when they feel like they're cornered.
Right, and this isn't just about, you know, getting around some communication restrictions. The prosecution's also accusing Combs of trying to blackmail potential witnesses, including his accusers, to either stay silent or to testify in his favor.
Yeah, this is where it gets really disturbing because witness tampering is incredibly serious. I mean, it strikes at the very heart of having a fair trial, right? Like, if witnesses are afraid to speak the truth, the whole system just falls apart.
Absolutely, and it's not even just about what happens in the courtroom. Right. Prosecutors are saying that Combs is orchestrating social media campaigns to influence public opinion and potentially even sway the jury pool. Like, they point to this one example of a birthday celebration video that Combs allegedly directed his family to post and then monitored how much engagement it got just to see how effective it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's where it gets, you know, kind of interesting because now we're talking about the collision of traditional legal proceedings with, you know, the whole world of social media and online influence. I mean, how can you even guarantee an unbiased jury these days when everybody is just constantly bombarded with information?
Exactly. And not even just information, but potentially misinformation too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes you wonder, like, is a fair trial even possible when you have someone with such a huge platform trying to control the narrative like this?
It's a tough question, for sure.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean,
we've never really seen anything like this before.
Right.
So who knows how this will play out?
We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's a massive challenge for the courts these days. And I think this case really highlights that, right? It's not just about, like, isolating jurors from news coverage anymore. It's about filtering out this constant stream of opinions and potential manipulation online.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about the implications, right? Like, for any high-profile case now, could somebody try to influence the outcome by manipulating social media?
Absolutely. It's a tactic I think we're going to see more and more, not just in legal battles, but in politics, you name it. The ability to spread information or misinformation so quickly and widely, it's really changed the game.
And speaking of trying to control the narrative, the CNN article it really goes into detail about how Combs was allegedly using other inmates' phone accounts to bypass all the monitoring they have in jail. And he was paying them off through intermediaries, which is, you know, big no-no.
Which are not allowed.
And then using their accounts to contact people who weren't even on his approved list. They even mentioned three-way calling as one of his tactics, which is
wow. I mean,
pretty wild.
It really gives you a glimpse into how far someone might go to just maintain control. Even when they're locked up, right? He wasn't content to just wait it out.
No. And it wasn't just a few calls here and there either. Prosecutors are saying he was sending hundreds of text messages through this unauthorized system, again, to people he wasn't supposed to be talking to. It's like he was running a whole side hustle from jail.
Yeah, the sheer volume of communication really suggests this was deliberate, like a sustained effort to try to exert his influence, even from inside. It really challenges the idea that incarceration actually cuts someone off from the world.
Right, and then we get to maybe the most serious allegation of all, which is the blackmail. Prosecutors are claiming that Combs was trying to pressure potential witnesses, including his accusers, to either stay quiet or give testimony that would help him.
Yeah, that's pretty chilling when you think about it.
It really is.
Because witness intimidation, I mean, that can completely undermine the pursuit of justice. Like, if people are afraid to come forward or tell the truth, the system can't possibly function properly.
Yeah, well, let's shift gears for a second and talk about these bail hearings. Because, as we mentioned, Combs has been denied bail twice now. But his lawyers are still pushing for his release, so what arguments are they making?
Well, their main argument seems to be that new information has come to light, that they say weakens the prosecution's case, specifically regarding these witness tampering allegations. And they're also saying that Combs is not a flight risk and that he poses no danger to the community.
But so far, the judges haven't been convinced.
Nope. Both judges who've reviewed the bail requests felt that. The prosecution has presented enough evidence to keep him in custody. Basically they're saying the potential risks, like him fleeing or trying to obstruct justice, outweigh any of the arguments for his release.
It sounds like that new information his lawyers presented didn't really move the needle.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, they obviously considered the new evidence, but
Yeah.
it wasn't enough to reverse their previous decisions.
So we have a new judge now who's taken over the case. And they've issued a gag order trying to keep things quiet. But that doesn't mean the investigation's over, does it?
Not at all. It's still very much active. And it could get even more complex, actually. The article mentions that a federal grand jury has been meeting regularly as part of this ongoing investigation. So they're taking this really seriously, and they're looking into the possibility of additional criminal activity.
And for those of us who, aren't legal experts, can you break down what a grand jury does exactly?
Sure. So basically, it's a group of citizens who are given the power to investigate potential criminal activity. They have a lot of authority to subpoena witnesses, demand documents, all that. And their job is to determine whether there's enough evidence to issue an indictment, which is basically a formal accusation that someone has committed a crime.
So this isn't just about the charges Combs is already facing them. They could potentially uncover more evidence and bring new charges against him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a possibility. The grand jury's investigation could lead to new allegations altogether, maybe even involving different offenses or even new people.
Wow. I mean, this whole situation, it really reminds you that the legal process can be so long and complicated, especially when you have high-profile figures involved. There are so many layers here. It's hard to know where it'll all end up.
It really underscores the importance of due process, and the presumption of innocence. Combs, just like anyone else facing criminal charges, he deserves a fair trial and the chance to defend himself. But the severity of these allegations and this ongoing investigation, they definitely suggest that there could be some serious consequences.
It's a lot to take in, for sure. And it makes you wonder about the impact all this will have on Combs' career and his legacy, even if he is found not guilty.
That's a good point, because the damage to his reputation, it might already be done, even if he's acquitted. Just the accusations themselves and all the media attention, it could have a lasting impact. It's hard to erase that kind of stain,
Yeah, it's a real cautionary tale about the court of public opinion and how quickly things can shift, especially online.
Oh, totally. And it's not always about what's legally proven or not. Perceptions can be just as powerful, especially for someone like Combs, where his whole brand is so tied to his image.
Right, and I think this case also brings up some important questions about the entertainment industry in general and the power dynamics that are at play. We often see these larger-than-life figures who seem untouchable. But this situation, it's a pretty stark reminder that no one is above the law.
For sure. It speaks to this broader issue of accountability and how wealth and fame can sometimes complicate these legal proceedings. I mean, the justice system is supposed to be blind, but it's hard to ignore the influence that someone like Combs has.
So where do we go from here? We've got this gag order in place. The investigation is still going, and there are so many unanswered questions. What are you going to be watching for as this case unfolds?
Well, personally, I'm curious to see if any new charges come out of that grand jury investigation. The scope seems to be widening, so it wouldn't surprise me if we see more allegations or even more people getting implicated.
And what about this new judge? Do you think the gag order will stay in place?
That's a good question. It really depends on how the judge wants to manage things, like the flow of information and how much pretrial publicity they'll allow. They've got to balance transparency with ensuring a fair trial for both sides, so...
And of course, we can't forget about the alleged victims in all of this, their experiences and, their search for justice that deserves our attention too.
100%. It's crucial that their voices are heard and that their rights are protected throughout all of this. The legal system has to strive to provide a fair and impartial hearing for everyone involved, no matter who they are or how famous they might be.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive, that's for sure. A really complex case with, far-reaching implications. Thanks for helping us break it all down.
My pleasure. It really shows how justice is such a multifaceted process and how the search for truth and accountability, it can be long and winding. I have a feeling this case is going to keep making headlines and spark a lot of important conversations about power and influence and how we navigate the legal system in our digital world.
That's for sure. Well, that's about it for our deep dive into the allegations surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. As always, we encourage you to stay informed, follow the developments, and form your own conclusions based on what comes out. Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.